Okay, hi, welcome back. Let's do Chapter 3, Nations and Society, one of my favorite chapters, um, because it includes beliefs. Before we get to beliefs, we're gonna cover ethnic and national identity. So first up, ethnic identity, which is founded on ethnicity, right? And we all kind of have a decent idea of what ethnicity is. We've heard of it. Maybe we don't know exactly how to define it. The book gives us a definition of attributes, a group of attributes that bind a people together or peoples together. Okay, what does that mean? Does that clear it up or does that make it more vague? Attributes can include a whole bunch of stuff, including pretty much anything we think of as culture. What's culture? Well, that's a whole bunch of stuff. But religion, mores, values, ethical systems, languages, big hairy deal. More on that later. Food, clothing, culture, entertainment, geography, and sometimes, but not always, physical characteristics. Height, skin tone, things like that. This is where we sort of get into the edgy, uncomfortable territory and where we get crossover with race. We're generally not going to talk about racial attitudes. That'll be summed up or involved or kept inside of ethnicity. All right, so not racial attitudes, but racial identity. The book makes a good point. I want to stress here that an ethnicity doesn't have to involve all those things, or even most of them. Some ethnicities do. Japanese, Germans, those are both ethnicities that where the shared characteristics are many. Language, geography, physical characteristics to an extent, culture, food, religion even. Doesn't mean all Japanese have the same religion or all Germans have the same religion, but sort of a common shared cultural historical religion in Germany from Martin Luther on. It has been Lutheranism. In Japan, it's that weird combination with Shinto and Buddhism. So there's a lot of things going on there that if you talk about Japanese ethnicity or German ethnicity, you're talking about a lot of stuff. But it's not always like that. Sometimes you have separate ethnic groups that are distinguished by just one or two things. The Balkans. We had Balkan Wars in the mid-1990s, and we'll look at those in the next snippet in a little bit more detail. But this points to the importance of ethnicities. People fought wars because they were in different ethnic groups. Okay, this is why Chapter 3 is kind of up there towards the front, or why this is one of the earlier chapters, because it's sort of foundational. Ethnicity is important. So, and sometimes in very negative ways, like conflict. All right. So, what are the differences? We're talking about primarily three ethnic groups that were involved. They're in the Balkans and involved in those wars: the Croats, the Serbians, and the Bosnians. The Bosnians are largely Muslim. The Croats are Catholic, and the Serbians are traditional Orthodox Christian. Eastern Orthodox, Russian Orthodox. It gets called different things. Serbians are quite closely related. Their religion is quite closely related to Russian Orthodox, and so, and then that's almost everything. There are some differences in their languages, but they're not large. Those languages are all quite similar, and otherwise, the non-religious customs and the geography, they all live near each other. The food, etc. Those are all very similar. That's an example. Here's another example. The Hutus and the Tutsis, also in the mid-1990s, the Hutus slaughtered the Tutsis in a period of there was absolute genocide in the period of less than 100 days. 70% of the Tutsi population was killed. And it really wasn't with guns. It was with machetes and things like that. And it wasn't like the army. It was, although armies were involved, it was neighbors going after neighbors. How did they know who to kill? Tutsis tend to be a little bit taller. That's one of the differences. Is that physical characteristic? Otherwise, there's a lot of similarities between those two peoples. So we'll leave it on that dark, somber, awful note. And in this next snippet, I'll be talking about national identity. And then we'll be looking at national identity and, national and ethnic conflicts. So stay tuned.